All right, my friends. I think this is probably the most useful drill. I use it daily. I almost use it every time I change clubs on the driving range to begin practicing with another club, a longer club, especially driver. We've all seen it. It's the greatest thing ever. Just put the club on your shoulders and turn. That leads into the next question really of like, what is turning? More often than not, people aren't flexing and loading into a pivot. They're just kind of like turning their shoulders and everything is washing out down here, which makes that last video incredibly important in our connection with the ground, the flex of the legs, and our ability to start pivoting rather than swaying or rather than just using our shoulders. So I will use this drill and I will again, first step is me just flexing my tailbone, flattening out my back, activating my core, my obliques, my lower abdominals, whatever you want to call that for yourself. It's incredibly helpful to feel it get under, feel that hip girdle get under us to activate us so that this is driving the golf swing. This is the engine of the golf swing rather than our stupid fucking arms trying to do everything for us, which is the majority of everyone's problem, myself included. I'm not trying to source my arms for power, I'm trying to source the ground. So if I can feel like my first move, if we watch Rory, I think it's so cool to watch Rory's, the beginning of his swing. This knee actually goes backward. This knee goes forward. Most people would see the exact opposite. I end up turning and my hips go. Rory or Anthony Kim would tell you that when they start their swing, they feel like their hips are going the other way. So if we watch Rory swing, he actually like, if you're right down the line, you can see his knee disappear behind this one. So he kind of pushes off his left side. He kind of pushes off to begin his pivot, to begin his weight transfer. He pushes off and then flexes. And his knees are actually moving like a different direction than most people's. His are going like this. That's going back, that's going forward, really loaded, fully weight transferred. Then he starts turning. And in starting to turn, he's actually feeling like this is staying or going the other direction. In reality, it is turning, but it's just not caving in. He's not seeing this hip and chest go. He's creating that like X factor where it's really staying there. So the beginning of the swing really feels like that weight transfer, pushing off on that side. Again, I've got like 80 or 90% of my weight here. There's still some on that side. The shorter the iron, the more we leave on that side because there's just more arm swing and more right arm controls in that. But I want to feel like, yeah, I'm creating some separation between my upper and lower body, my lower and half. By the time I get to here, now we'll see Rory straighten this leg, this knee, or DJ gets really, really straight. I suffered in trying to figure out like, how is that happening? But every time I would stop the drill itself and feel like I'm turning, using the core to get there and not my arms and shoulders, if I connect back to my heel, if I feel like my heel begins by pushing back into the ground, I can feel my whole oblique and side and hip stretch out. That stretch is speed, that stretch is load, that stretch is real power and connection to the ground to generate the movement in transition going the other direction. So if we see like, okay, I'm like push off, load, crank as much as I can. I can only crank this much without really letting that hip go. Now when I let this hip straighten and keep my head pivoting and moving back and pushing into the pivot, I can feel a lot of stretch through here. If you are doing this right, and it's the first time that you have done it right, you're probably gonna cramp up here on the left side, and you're probably gonna start cramping here and be like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. And you'll have to shake it out and create a little bit more flexibility in that area of your body. This is probably the greatest stretch for creating that flexibility. Holding onto the golf cart and pulling into it, just holding onto the steering wheel and pulling your ass back into that is gonna create a lot of flexibility in that glute, IT band, hip area so that we have more flexibility and more power to swing the golf club with our lower half. And it's just good for your overall hip mobility and overall well-being, I suppose. So doing those is fantastic. So again, back to the drill. If I can feel like, yeah, I pushed off, right? I'll do this drill with cables over here, attached to 15 or 20 pounds, and I'll feel that same thing happening really through the tailbone and that flexion of me pulling the tailbone under. It all begins with activation of the core. I'll feel like, okay, boom, got it. Then I'm turning, all right. Now I'm pushing through my heel, my knee straightens a little, and we can see Rory's do this. We can see a lot of players. Cameron Young lets his knee kind of go back like that. Justin Thomas, Pretty much everybody is doing this to use the ground as the power, as the leverage. The only leverage that you have is the ground. Like if I'm floating in space, obviously I can't push off the ground. I can only hit a ball there. Gravity is pushing me into the ground, so I can use it as the leverage to create speed for myself out of the strongest part of your body. So I'll be there, I'll feel that initial there, and then like, oh, I'm trying to create that extension through the chest, through that thoracic spine, really creating that stretch going back, pushing and pulling to generate that speed and that extension forward. This drill, incredibly beneficial to training your lower body how to drive the golf swing, and training your arms by taking them off the grip, off the club entirely, letting them sag right here. A lot of people will do this and they'll start reaching with their shoulders. That's lifting. That's letting the arms detach away from the pivot. Now the arms are pretty much driving the golf swing, and the pivot will stop a little bit. It will stale out. And then to feel it, I just let my arms kind of feel connected to my chest. Chest is a little bit flexed. Arms are in, tailbone is tucked. Push off and really crank into it. When you feel your hips, your obliques are starting to cramp, that's when you're doing it right. If you haven't felt them cramp, you're still just not quite doing it right. Boom, boom, boom. Keeping that hip, letting it turn, reload into the ground every time you stop. Get on the heel, push through the heel, through the pivot. Start to feel it really stretch out that oblique. It's gonna start to cramp. If it does, step away from it, shake it out, do it again. Once we're back here, we're trying to load down to begin the downswing. I just feel like I put the weight back on the ball of the foot. Now I'm pushing through the ass, leaving the head, creating that right flexion, and then following it. Trying to feel like that inside out path is really being created for you. Fantastic drill. Do it all the time. Another fun thing, you don't need a golf club. You don't need to be at a driving range. You can do this in your living room, in your bedroom, in your backyard, in the office at work, in your office. If you're as hopelessly addicted to this game as I am, you'll probably do it every chance you get. If you do it every chance you get, you're going to get better at it. This game is just about repetition. Apply, do it again, do it again, do it again. Tiger would spend hours in his hotel room working on one thing in his swing 1,000 times between Friday and Saturday of the Masters or the US Open or whatever it is. Just one little idiosyncrasy in his golf swing is driving him crazy. He's just in there dry swinging. That dude has probably swung a golf club 20 times at nothing for every one time he hit a golf shot. If you want to see really good results, you just need that kind of dedication. If you want that kind of insane dedication, yeah, you're gonna be out of balance. You're gonna David Goggins your whole life. You're not going to have balance if you want to see that kind of thing. But that doesn't mean that you can't, like, a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, a little bit in the evening, apply these little lessons to create movements through your neurosystem, your nervous system, and the neuroplasticity of the mind to create a super highway, because you've done it 30 times that day, 100 times that day, 200 times that day. By the time you go to the driving range next time, it's gonna happen easier. Instead of you just going to the driving range and be like, oh, what was that? What am I trying to work on? Because the arms and the hands always want to take over. And as we just program these movements in there, you're programming the supercomputer to drive the golf swing through very efficient pivot, core, ground sourcing, so that your arms don't have to try and generate speed for you. More often than not, the arm just feels like a nice little throw and release because of all the speed and connection we have created through the pivot, through the stronger parts of the body to generate these moves. I hope this is helpful. Hope you enjoyed it. I freaking love doing these. I'm gonna end up doing them a little bit more often, and my buddy Jared over here is always putting them together for me and picking up golf. He's doing this. He went and played golf a little while ago and he was like, wait, what the fuck was Joel saying? Oh yeah. Throw that damn thing. Anyhow, it's all gonna help you get to a little bit better place in letting your body do it, becoming more efficient, letting it shallow out through pivot, and just make the game a little bit more enjoyable by hitting better shots. That's my hope for you. Cheers. Take care.